Blast me to Kjalmas Skull. It's time for the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. Issue 61, Part 2. Gallery, Rules, and Mission. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. So we're finishing off issue 61 today, and here we have the finished trio of Tombblade jet bikes. So here's the most recent model with the particle caster, our first model that had the gauze, and our second model with the Teslas. So, like I mentioned before, I've grown quite fond of these little models. They've done me well in battles, but I really think I would like a unit just of Tesla and just of the gauze. And then I'll keep the particle caster, as I mentioned before, for use with just the missions in the Imperium packs. But here we are, finished in my Saltec Dynasty colour scheme, up to battle ready. The only thing that needs to be done is giving them a varnish. Well, I think I've done the varnish on two of them. I just need to do the one on my newest one. But I'm going to put some transfers on these guys before that happens anyway. So, there we have our finished unit of Tombblades. So we're just one Wraith away from our finished Wraiths. And we'll be getting that, I believe, in 2 deliveries time. So same delivery we get Grey Fax, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So quite looking forward to getting that. Right, let's have a look at the new rules. I'll introduce you to the 2 armies I'm playing in this mission. And then we'll have the mission itself, of course. So here we have issue 61. And we've read most of it, so we can skip straight ahead to our new rules. So we have, first off, a new page for the Necrons. This is the Crypt Deck Arcana. So this is special issue war gear that can only be taken by a Crypt Deck. I forgot about these while building my list, and I didn't factor in points to fit them. So I will have to try them out, I think, in the next one. But we've got some nice little war gear. I think my favourite might be the Quantum Orb. So once we're battling your command phase, the bearer can activate the item. If it does, select a point on the battlefield within 24 inches, place a marker. At the start of your next command phase, roll d6 for each unit within 6 inches of the centre of that marker, subtracting 1 if it's a character. On a 4 to 5, they suffer d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, they suffer 3 mortal wounds. Then the marker is removed. So that can only be took by the Plasmancer, but it's a quite nice little piece of war gear that will add more to his destructive plasma abilities. Over that, I do quite like the Photonic Subjugator, so that could be any of the Crypt Decks. So the first time you fail a saving throw, the damage of that attack is reduced to 0. So with the very low wound threshold, it's pretty good to help keep your Crypt Decks alive. And of course, we also have one for the Chronomancer and one for the Technomancer as well. On the other side, we've just got a little tutorial. So we've got the fail-safe overcharge, which is the Technomancer special one, and the Quantum Orb is described there. And for the Battle Sisters, we've got the Blessings of the Faithful. So much the same as the Crypt Deck one. This gives you the ability to buff up your Canoness. So each one comes with 2 abilities, one that's always active and one that's a miracle ability, which you need to sacrifice a miracle dice to trigger. But each of them are pretty nice. They give a nice little boost to your army. Emperor's Grace is a good one. So at the start of each command phase, this model is healed and regains d3 wounds. So it keeps your Canoness alive a bit longer. And the Miraculous ability is while a friendly Martyr Lady core or character is within miracle range of this model, each time an attack is made against that unit, your opponent cannot re-roll the hit roll, cannot re-roll the wound roll, and cannot re-roll the damage roll. So yeah, really makes you a little bit more durable, especially for those units that have a lot of re-rolls like the Scorpec Destroyers. Moving on then, we have the page for the advanced section, which focuses on battle-forged armies. So this gives us all the rules needed to figure out how to play with battle-forged armies. So the veteran pack requires you to take a battle-forged army, and we'll get onto that in a minute. You then start your resource of command points. So your starting power determines your command points. So 25 is 3, 50 is 6, 75 is 12. And we can go bigger, I believe. There's one for 100 power as well in the pack. But it allows you to pretty much create a cohesive force, and we'll see that on the opposite side here. So here we have our battle-forged army. We've got a 50 power detachment here, which is wrongly pointed at 2 command points. It's actually 3. But so you must have 2 HQ, you must have 3 troops, and then anything else is optional. So here we can see we've got the Overlord and the Royal Warden filling the troops HQ slots. We've got the Immortals and 2 squads of the Warriors filling out the troop slots. We've got an additional HQ in the form of the Chronomancer. We've got an Elite in the form of the Reanimator, the Spider and the Crypto Thralls, and Fast Attack in the form of the Tomb Blades and the Scarabs there. As we can see, I don't know if you can see very well, but we got the all 10 with Gore's Reaper and Gore's Flayers on the Warriors there. 2 units of Scarabs have been formed into one big unit. So yeah, we're going to be doing some really good battles upcoming soon. So our first mission is called Scout and Engage, and we just use our brand new mat from the issue 58. So luckily we have all the terrain. We'll use the reactor we've got from the previous set. But we are taking and holding objectives. There's 2 of them. Sort of in the no man's land area. We've got a 3-inch deployment zone each side, and we've got a secondary objective of infiltration. So if we end up in the enemy's deployment zone, we score an extra 3 points, and we score 5 points for controlling 1, and also if we control 2 to a maximum of 10. So pretty good mission. So we'll have a look at the veteran pack first, and then we'll go on to our battle. Oh, introducing the armies first, of course. So the veteran mission pack. Kjalmas Skull is a barren death world with a thin atmosphere. Unlike the moons of Gliantha, it is almost completely uninhabited. This is when my tongue stops working, annoyingly. Unbeknownst to the Imperium, a long dormant Necron tomb complex lies beneath its surface. Now the Necrons have returned to Kjalmas Skull to reactivate its technological terrors. Reading too quick. So yeah, this gives a little bit of background about the particular planet we're on now. So Kjalmas Skull is a moon. It's a Necron tomb world, pretty much. But it's falling to pieces with lava planes, and like I said, the thin atmosphere, so rebreathers and helmets locked on, I think, for a lot of these battles. So the Necrons are going to be this is where the Necrons pull back from after failing at Megaria, Electia and Cyphos. And they're going to rebuild their forces here and make one last stand. And the Imperium are coming in, so we've got the Space Marines with the brand new Vanguard forces coming in. The Adeptus Sororitas from Electia are joining in the fight, and of course the Adeptus Mechanicus there are always adding in some units. So, the mission rules, we got power rating battles, so 25, 50, 75 and 100. These should take roughly up to an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. So our big battle we had last week would have been like 100 power sort of thing. Actually, no, it's only 50 power, but it still took me about 3 hours, I think. That included setting up time, though. So, mustering your armies. Again, like with the previous packs, the Imperium force can freely mix between the 3 factions we have. And then the Necrons must all be Necrons. Again, we've got the same Warlord, so Inspiring Leader Warlord trait. So we have +1 to units within 6 inches of us. Then we got our command points here as well. So 3, 6, 12 and 18, depending on the power. So after that, you read your mission briefings, place your objectives, build your battlefield, select any secondary objectives, determine attacker and defender, choose your deployment zone. So this will be a roll-off, and then one of you will choose which end, the other one will get the opposite end. Declaring any reserves and reinforcements, so we get to make full use of reserves and reinforcements, so this will cost us command points from now on. But of course, if you have units such as the Flayed Ones or Seraphim, they can start in Sky Strike anyway. You then deploy your armies, starting with the Defender. Determine first turn, so another roll-off to see who gets first turn. Resolve any pre-battle abilities, so we don't have too many of those at the moment, but there will be some coming up, I believe. Begin the battle, end the battle, and determine who's the victor. So, for battle forging armies, we got 2 detachments to choose from, either the 25 power one or the 50 power one. So, for a 100 power, you can either take 2 50s, or 150 and 2 25s, or even 4 25s. But you don't really gain much. You get 2 command points and 3 command points. That's about it. A later pack might give us some other detachments, so I'll have to wait and see what happens to that. So also for this pack, we get brand new stratagems. 3 of them are just the previous ones we had for the Initiate mission packs. So Command Reroll, Fire, Overwatch, and Counteroffensive. But we also have a brand new one, Insane Bravery, so 2 command points, and this allows us to automatically pass a morale test without suffering any losses, which is pretty cool. And finally, we have some brand new secondary objectives. So we got Slay the Warlord for 6 points, Attrition for 4 points, so 4 points at the end of each battle round if you destroy more enemy than friendly units in the battle round. Domination, so 3 points if you control more than half the objective markers on the battlefield at the end of your turn. And then raise the banners high. So these are just the same objectives as we had before, but it's nice that we get them repeated here in this pack so we don't have to keep flicking backwards and forwards. So that's the Veteran Mission Pack detailed. Let's move on then to introduce you to the armies I'll be fielding in issue 61's battle. Okay, here we have my 25 power Imperium and Necron forces for issue 61. So my HQ on my Imperium side, I've gone for the Phobos Librarian. Troop choice is the Skitarii. I've got 2 fast attacks in the form of the Seraphim and the Outriders. And then I've got a heavy support with the form of the Pentia engine and an elites with the Repentia. So I've built this force both to try and win the secondary objective that we have to complete, and also it's kind of a themed force that it's sort of like each faction sending their scouting elements out to see how bad Kjalmas Skull actually is. So it adds a little bit to the narrative. The Necron force, on the other hand, is filled with deadlies, and lots of them. So I've got my unit of 3 Tomb Blades here. I've got the Canoptic Wraiths that we've got, so only the 2. 2 Cryptothralls bodyguarding my Warlord, the Chronomancer. He's been doing quite well for me lately, actually, in games, so I'm definitely taking him more and more. And I've got a unit of 10 Warriors, all with Gorse Reapers, and the 5 Immortals here. So a rather diverse but deadly force. I think I'm missing one of my Immortals. Yes, I am. I'll get him out of the cupboard in a minute. Right. So yeah, the Necron force, it's going to be pretty deadly. They're expecting an invasion from the Imperium, so they come out with their biggest, baddest guns and their most deadliest Canoptic constructs. And they're going to be pretty durable with the Chronomancer there, putting that 5 up in vulnerable save on things. So power weapons aren't going to be eliminating Necron warriors as much as they would otherwise. Alright, I'll just set up the battlefield and I'll be right back for our battle. So, rolling for attacker and defender. The Ultramarines won that roll off, and I think just to keep it thematic, they will be the attackers in this one. So, Necrons will deploy first. Okay, forces are deployed. So we have our Necrons over here. We've gone for, as best we can, a pretty much straight line. So Tombblades, Wraiths, Immortals, Chronomancer and Crypto Thralls, and then the Warriors. The Imperium, we've got the Skitarii here. We've got the Librarian, the Repentia, the Pentian Engine there. The Outriders, due to the mission, they're too big for the deployment zone, so they're touching the outside base and they move on in our first turn. And Seraphim, of course, have gone in Sky Strike. So we've got our two objectives, one here and one there just at the end of the reactor. 5 points per objective. And 3 points if we have a unit ending up in the enemy deployment zone. So we start with 3 command points. I'll roll the first turn in a minute, but first let's have a bit of dramatic reading. Scout and engage. Imperial forces have begun to land upon Kjalmas Skull, their dropships using the planet's violent dust storms to evade Necron fire. The 1st Space Marine, Adeptus Sororitas, and Adeptus Mechanicus warriors have already begun scouting the foothills of the Dead World's mountain ranges and made contact with Necron defenders. Imperial forces must deal with the first wave of Necron defenders, seize ground, and hold it until more of their allies arrive. Repel the incursion. Unbeknownst to the Imperium, Kjalmas Skull hides a subterranean Necron tomb world. Though this facility has largely been destroyed by geological activity, sections have been restored to life. The Necrons must prevent the Imperium from locating and breaching their stronghold in the Ramesses system. Establish a foothold. With the battle still raging on the moons of Galantha, a new front is about to open. The Ultramarines' vanguard have discovered a Necron presence in and around a long-abandoned research facility. The Imperium has dispatched forces to secure the site and forge a beachhead on the planet's surface. So there we have it. Let's begin first turn. So we'll see who gets first turn with a roll-off as usual. 5 for the Imperium, but a 6 for the Necrons. Looks like they've got an advantage. And I think they are going to take it with first turn. So we'll begin first turn with the Miracle Dice, which is a 5. So I'll be right back after Necron turn 1. End of Necron turn 1, and everything's moved up. We are scoring ourselves one lot of 5 points for holding the objective over there. We can't get holding more than the opponent in the first turn, so that's out of the question. Oh, and actually, yeah, we're in 3 of that one, so we do score an additional objective. Go Team Blades. So, like I said, everything's moved up. The Tomb Blades moved up and shot at the Skitarii, causing 3 casualties. Okay, so I can't score any points in the first turn. Okay. So yeah, at the start, end of each player's command phase, the player whose turn it is scores 5 points for each of the following conditions they meet. Control 1 objective, control 2 objectives. The mission. This mission objective cannot be scored the first battle round. Okay, I'll rescind those 2 points. But either way, each side is going to be scoring mostly 5 points. We do get an additional 3 at the end of the game if we have a unit in the enemy deployment zone. Oh, and I've forgotten to put turn 1 on. So, yeah, it's on to the Imperium turn 1, and those poor Skitarii are in dire straits if they can't make a comeback. So, here we go with the Imperium turn 1. End of Imperium turn 1. That's my still in range. Just when he charge, he needs a 10. Nope, he needs an 11. He doesn't. 6. So, end of Imperium turn 1. I think the morale test for the Skitarii there. So, we lost 3. We're leadership 8, 9 because of the data tether. I believe, are we? No, just 8 with the data tether. So yeah. Leadership 8. Cocked dice. Try again. Wow, lucky. 5 plus 3 is 8, so they just passed their morale test. First thing you'll notice at the end of Imperium turn 1 is there are no Tomb Blades left. The Skitarii and the Librarian took care of them. Librarian opened up with Smite, dealing D3 mortal wounds with a 3. And then the Skitarii just peppered him with shots from Galvanics, Phosphor Blast, Plasma, Arc Rifle, which missed, and the Arquebus. 3 warriors died over there on Flamers from the Pentium engine. But things are about to change because it's on to Necron's turn 2. Okay, end of Necron turn 2, and things have swung in their favour. So, end of the turn, we score. Yep. 5 points for holding that objective, but we are just out on this objective. The Wraiths moved their, well, not full, but moved 11, keeping out of range of the Skitarii and the Librarian before charging into the Skitarii and butchering them to a man. They took 3 out with particle pistols on the way in, though. Poor Skitarii just haven't had the luck to make their saves. The Immortals felt really energetic, rolling a 6 for their advance roll. Sadly, they weren't able to shoot this turn, though. But they are in a position to dominate the objective. The Necrons opened fire on the Pentium engine. Took 8 wounds. Saved 1 on armor and saved 3 on... Not 3. Yes, 3 on 5 up ignores. So he's alive with 1 wound remaining, just. If only the Crypto Thralls had put themselves in a position to fire, he could have been dead. But he's ready to charge into the Necrons. Skitarii didn't go down fighting. They did try to overwatch, but they scored no hits whatsoever. And the Necrons have a healthy command point total of 5, whereas the Imperium have used most of theirs. Well, let's just see what the Imperium can do. Ooh, excuse me. It is now Imperium turn 2. Okay, end of Imperium turn 2, and things are swung again. Seraphim came in. They originally came in here, but I forgot that I had Immortals in the building, so I had to remeasure, and they ended up having to come back there, which meant that their 2 lots of shooting that killed a Wraith didn't happen, but the 2 Wraiths died mostly to shooting anyway. The last one died to combat with the Outriders. The Repentia charged the Immortals, who fired Overwatch. They killed 1 of them, but the other remaining 3 killed 3 of the Immortals. Librarian put all his effort into his Smite on the first turn, because he only just cast it this turn, and fluffed all these attacks on the charge phase, fight phase against the Immortals. The Pentium engine didn't do too well. The Necron warriors luckily managed to save quite a few of their invulnerable saves and only lost one of their number. So we need to take some morale tests. So the warriors, 1+1 is fine, and the Immortals, 4+3 is 7, so they're fine. They can, and neither of them could really have failed anyway. But the Necrons are ahead thanks to having units in positions to hold objectives at the end of their command phase, whereas the Imperium did not. So they do have 10 points at the moment. Not looking like they'll have a unit able to get to the enemy deployment zone, but we'll have to see how well things shift in turn 3. So, speaking of, let's start Necron turn 3. Okay, end of Necron turn 3. The Pentium engine died, and one Immortal died. So, things haven't gone well. We have scored another point though for the Necrons, as we had another unit on the objective still, because the Crypto Thralls moved out and then got in a position to charge, which finished off the Pentium engine. But we have plenty of guys on that objective at the moment, so we are 15 points ahead. But the Space Marines are about to hopefully change things, so let's just see what happens with their third turn. So gain a command point and a miracle dice, another one. So here we go. That was a pretty short and sweet Space Marine turn. Seraphim moved up to make sure they could cover the objective. The Librarian cast Smite at the Immortal, killing it, freeing up him and the Repentia, who decided to consolidate towards the building, ready to start making a move towards the enemy deployment zone. But they are not going to get a victory. I don't think it's going to be close if we do. I mean, the Necrons are going to score points next turn. We're going to score points next turn. And yeah, the Necrons are already 15 points ahead. I don't think the Imperium can win. But I will play this out just for the fun of it. So, with that said, here we go with Necrons turn 4. Okay, Necron turn 4 has been and gone in a matter of seconds. We did the warrior shuffle, swapping positions, and we managed to fire at the Outriders, doing 2 wounds. They're still alive though, so it's up to the Imperium. It's turn 4, but we have the Necrons at least scored an extra point, putting us at 20. So, here we go then with the Imperium. Turn 4, we're getting a command point, and I forgot to roll for a miracle dice for this turn, didn't I? Yes. A 2. So here we go, Imperium. And with the end of turn 4, I think we're going to be calling it a Necron victory there. It's not very likely we will swing the victory to our favour, but we've at least made a dent in the Necron force, and the Chronomancer still proves to be one of my favourite Technomancers out there. So tempting that I might even build my second one. But there we have it. So this battle was pretty cool. I think if I hadn't gone for a thematic force, I think the Imperium might have had a better chance. Especially if I gone all Ultramarines, I really could have done with those rerolls on the Captain and the Lieutenant. Especially for bikes. And if I had Assault Intercessors, I could have used them on them. Perhaps the All Sisters force might have done a little better. I mean, I really enjoy using the Sisters of Battle. The Repentia could have been better if they had the Mistress backing them up. But we'll have to wait and see. It's a fairly small game, so it's one I can quickly replay if I fancy it at any point. But for the moment, though, we are scoring this as a Necron victory, and I think rightly so. They did have the far superior force, I think. But what would you have done differently? Please let me know in the description down below. But next we can see what's in our next Imperium. And issue 62 sees us a paint issue. So we get 2 new paints, being Kjalmas Blue and Evil Sun Scarlet. We learn all about edge highlighting, and we have brand new rules for the librarian, so he's definitely going to be seeing some action in the next game. So we get the obscuration discipline, which is perfect because we are getting in 63 our first Vanguard units. So we get 3 infiltrators, a eliminator, and a suppressor. We get brand new data sheets for all of these units, and we also get a complete painting guide. So this is everything up to and including issue 62, so all our highlighting, etc. I will just be painting mine up to my standard battle ready. But who knows, I might actually follow the guide for once, because the infiltrators are a Phobos unit, and I've never been the biggest fan of Phobos, especially as soon as you see someone painting these guys in tennis gear, it kind of ruins it. You cannot unsee it. I mean, I always see them as having trainers, shorts, and a weird looking shirt. So yeah, they're not my favourite of the Space Marine models. I do quite like the new Neophytes though for Black Templars, so if they eventually bring a scout unit over to generic Space Marines, I'll definitely get some of those. But there we have it, that's our next 2 issues, and due to postal strikes, deliveries might be taking a little longer than normal to arrive. We've had no post the past 2 days, so I definitely don't have mine. But that's it for issue 61 of Imperium, and yeah, I think this battle could have gone a lot better. I also forgot to do a question for the video. So my question is, what are your thoughts on the Phobos? I've given you mine. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. All that's left for me to say then is thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe for more mad content. And I will see you next time on the Imperium Journey. Goodbye.